So whilst we are waiting for the others to join, I think we are 5. We're looking at about 30. Yes, but well, average 10 or 12. We will start. And welcome, Momo Diva. I don't know if I had it right. Could you help me with the name pronunciation?
Thank you.
Okay. If you have questions from the previous session, you could kindly put them in the chat box, or you could also speak and unmute and also share with us. We'll be starting shortly, and in a few seconds we would be going to our second training session, which is supposed to last for 2 hours. That is from 14:30 GMT to 16:30 GMT. Initially, Christopher told us that in Zambia you are 2 hours ahead of us. Yeah, so it's very interesting. Yeah, it's good to get connected with you. Okay, so whilst we are waiting for the others to join, and then I'll be sharing my screen with you, and it will be on climate justice. So we would be brainstorming whilst waiting for other participants to join. Okay. Okay. Could you tell me what you are seeing? Hello?
Climate justice.
Great. So, climate justice. All right. And a few minutes. Okay. I think we can start now. We are 10 minutes after our time. And we will be looking at that shortly. So let me just work on this link. I think some are using a different link, so I want to just send them this link, then they join. Okay. All right. Great to have you all, and good afternoon once again. Good evening, wherever you are. Good morning across our neighbors elsewhere. All right. So we are looking at climate justice, and I am Abugre Anyorigya. I'm a journalist and an activist on climate change and gender. That is where my activism spans. But as activism is, it sometimes moves beyond that. So we support the goals, the SDG goals, any other aspect, but major focus is on climate change and gender. Now, what is climate justice? We'll start with Momo Diva. Could you kindly tell us what do you know, or what do you think climate justice is? Hi, Momo Diva. Okay. If Momo Diva is not hearing us, let's go to next person, Thomas Abuga. What do you think climate justice is? Okay. Still?
All right, I'm back. I could say something.
Yes, So, Momodiva, as you can see on the screen, climate justice. What is climate justice to you?
Mm.
What does climate justice mean to you?
So I think justice means that um, people everywhere, let's say in a country, should not be affected by climate in a way that others are left to be more vulnerable when there is climate change and others are better off. So I would feel there should be like a balance in the livelihoods in as much as everyone is affected, left behind when there's a change in climate. I would feel that way.
Okay, great, great, great. All right. Thomas. Okay, I went to Thomas. Thomas. I think he's texting. Then let's go to Abena Awuku-Larbi. What does climate justice mean to you? Okay, so let's go to Christopher Simbanda. Sabanda. Can we hear from you? What climate justice mean to you? Going, just as Shani will say. Okay, let's go to Robert. Robert, can we hear from you, Robert? What does climate change mean to you? Oh, sorry, climate justice mean to you?
What I feel climate justice, I think climate justice is doing activities which
Hello.
are not endangering our
Yes, we can
climate.
hear you.
Hello.
Hello, can you get me?
Yes.
Okay.
Thomas, please, Robert is on the floor, so let's get to Robert, then we come back to you. Thank you very much.
Boring.
Great.
Yeah, like I was saying, doing activities that will not endanger our climate, and like having fair.
Oh, sorry, your audio is quite bad. We can't hear you so clear.
Okay. Can you get me?
Yes, please. It's very clear now. Okay, so let's go to Mohammed Shani, our morning moderator. Robert, whilst Robert is working on his microphone, you will be listening to Shani, then we come back to Rosemond. So, Rosemond, kindly prepare as you look at the question. What does climate justice mean to you? Can we hear from you, Shani?
Yes, please. So for me, climate justice means that everybody contributes their fair share to ensuring that our planet is safe and there is no of climate change, especially on the vulnerable.
Okay.
So that is to also mean that the people in the rich countries, the people in the global north, should contribute their fair share into combating climate change, and also the people in the global south should also contribute their fair share to ensuring that we don't do activities that depletes the ozone layer and causes climate change. For me, that is what climate justice means to me.
All right. Great. Great. Rosemond, can we hear from you? What climate justice is?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, please, we can.
Okay. I'll say climate justice is we having the right as individuals, the causes and effects of climate change
Hello, please can
to
you
our
hear me?
environment.
Yes, please, we can.
Okay. I'll say climate justice is we causes and effects of. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you.
I was saying that climate justice is we having the right as individuals to talk about the causes and then the effect of climate change to our environment, and also we having the capabilities to put in measures to voice out what we think are the solutions to such actions.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Now we're going to the next question, which is, I hope you can see. And what's the question here? Can we hear from Robert? What's the question on the screen?
Who owns the world?
Great. Who owns the world? Now, Robert, let's start with you. Who owns the world? Tell us. So you can select any of the three there, whether the human, the plants, the animals. Who owns the world? Kind of a tricky question, eh? All right. Who do we go next to? Christopher?
Having to go. And when we think about it, leave a better place for others to come as we don't owe it. We are all coming.
Okay.
So maybe this is what I think none of us owe it.
Interesting. Very interesting point of view too. So Daniel, you've missed a lot.
Hey.
Quick update.
Oh, jeez.
So Christopher said that, and correct me if I'm wrong. Christopher said that the planet belongs to, or the world belongs to human beings, and that plants and other animals are just parts of it. Since we humans take charge and control what happens in the world in a way. And like I said, Christopher, please correct me if I'm wrong or if I didn't get what you said right. And Thomas Abuga is also telling us that none of us own the world.
Okay.
And that we're all just passers-by. We're just coming to leave. So none of us own the world. So over to you.
All right. Great, super, super, super. Thank you so much. So now we have had a discussion about who owns the world. Okay. Now let's get to the next one, and we are looking at the question that whether. So we are going to just be looking at questions today. And we're going to be engaging ourselves on what climate justice is and why climate change. Now the question comes here again that what is climate change? Is it a myth or is it reality? Okay. So you and I are living in the world, and we hear something about climate change, and we are supposed to combat climate change. Is it a myth that is being created by someone else, or is really happening in our community? Then it moves on to say that climate change is simply the human activities which is causing the change in the weather conditions. Okay, so what you and I do in our everyday lives, the way we manage the environment, and how that affects the weather conditions. And the weather condition here, we're looking at rainfall, we're looking at atmospheric pressure, we're looking at sunshine, we're looking at all these things. Now, what are some of the human activities that change or affect this weather condition? So in the subsection, we have the human activities. We have illegal mining. And here, illegal mining, in Ghana here, we have something we call galamsey, in reference to illegal mining. We have deforestation, which is a global term. And we have bad agricultural practices, bad sanitation practices, that's like burning of rubbish, etc. So these are some of the human activities that you and I, our friends, our community, they engage in every day. For instance, people who are engaged in real estate, people who want to build new houses, they tend to cut down trees in order to build a house. And after building, sometimes they forget, and most forget to, plant a tree that has been cut down. It takes years for a tree to grow. So these are some of the human activities that we are talking about that it causes change in our weather conditions. Now we have something called the impact, and that is what will tell us whether it's reality or it's a myth. Now, looking at the climate change subject, we are supposed to understand that in every course, in every subject, there are people who support it and there are people who are against it. We need to appreciate both sides in order to understand what we are actually doing. So that's why we're looking at it, whether if climate change is a myth or a reality. And I'm trying to convince you that climate change is a reality but not a myth, by looking at the impact, which is torrential rainfall, which leads to flooding, irregular rainfall pattern. Now you know that in this time of the year, we are supposed to have rain. The rain doesn't come for farmers to go on with their seasons and all that. Then it comes at a later date, and that is very difficult for them to follow. So it's like there's no timetable for you to follow through to know exactly what is happening and when you have to plant and when you have to reap. So irregular rainfall pattern. Now there's something called extinction of islands. Now in Africa, the island we might be looking at is Madagascar, right? Am I right? I just need a response, a chorus response. Alright, I'm not getting that. Okay. Now the extinction of islands is a problem. We have famine, we have drought. Now the famine and the drought here is something that is very common and cuts across various countries in Africa, where you have issues about people going hungry because the farm have not been able to yield enough for them. Some going on long hours without water because there's insufficient water supply for them to sustain them for a week, a month, or even the whole year. So that's the impact of the climate change we are looking at, and this comes in various forms. Now human activities such as deforestation, when you cut down trees, in science we learn that trees absorb the carbon dioxide that we breathe out as human beings, right? And they use this in producing their food, in simple terms, and that's called the photosynthesis. Now when you cut down the trees, when human beings breathe out the carbon dioxide, where does it go to? Who then absorbs it? When the carbon emissions from the cars, from the vehicles and the factories who then absorbs it? So that's the issue that we're looking at, that climate change is a reality but not a myth. It sounds like a debate, right? All right, so I hope I got you to my side to believe in climate change. Now, just like Ghana, which has an economy which relies solely or mainly on climate sensitive sectors like agriculture and energy and forestry, we need to understand how climate change is changing and affecting us in various ways. Now, when you talk about agriculture here might be looking at issues about food security. I'm sure each and every one of us has taken our breakfast, our lunch. Now, just waking up to realize that farmers couldn't, yield more of their produce because there wasn't enough rainfall, or perhaps there was an issue about outbreak of new diseases, and climate change leads to all these things. So if you have an economy that relies on climate sensitive sectors, that means you need to really pay attention to that. I'm sure in the energy sector too. In Ghana here, currently we are having something we call doomso. I don't know whether in Zambia you've heard about doomso, in Bangladesh, in other parts of the world you've heard about doomso, but currently Ghana is facing doomso, which is the intermittent power supply. So there's not a regular flow of power to each and every individual in Ghana here, and these are climate sensitive sectors. Let me tell you something about Ghana's energy sector. At a point in time in our history, we had a water shortage in at the dam, okay, and the president gathered pastors and religious leaders to go and pray so that water, it will rain into the dam so that we could get regular supply of electricity. That's the condition we have in Ghana here, and this is a climate sensitive part. And that time we didn't have, I think we didn't have enough rainfall, so there was a shortage, and at some point we lacked. So if you have all these things happening, if we understand the issues better, how can we then make the things easier for each and every person to live a life that is not so stressed and is not dictated by climate change? Now we go on to the next slide, and we ask the person, why climate justice? You remember in the first session we did something about human rights, okay? So why do we need to go into an activism called climate justice? One, because it affects our human rights and our right to life, which are the basic needs, food, water, and all that. Climate change affects it. So we need to speak out, we need to gather forces, we need to look out for each other, because food security is an issue, water security is an issue, and if you don't have all these things, you are going to really, really be affected. COVID-19 has really hit us very hard. And when COVID-19 came, who remembers the drill? Rosemont, can you tell us the drill? You are told to wash your hands, right? With what? What are you told to wash your hands with?
Hello?
Yes, Rosemont. I'm saying that.
Hello?
Yes, in this COVID-19 pandemic, we are told to wash.
Please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Rosemont.
Yes, you were asking the drill.
Yes, the drill. What are we told to do? COVID-19. I say you should wash your, something and do other things. What are they?
That we should wash our hands with soap and the running water, and then use sanitizers.
Great.
And then keep social distance.
That's wonderful. So the drill is to wash your hands with soap and the running water. Now, climate change is such that it will affect water supply. So if you and I don't have access to water, that means we can't even wash our hands with soap and the running water. And that is the basic need of life. Water is life. So if climate change is really going to affect water supply, that means you and I need to come together and go into our communities and ask the question, what is making water supply, or what is causing water shortage in our community? Then we find solution to it. Then we start engaging our leaders, our local leaders, and we start gathering them to explain to them that these are the solutions and there are ways to make sure that we combat climate change. All right. So why climate justice is because it affects our human rights, and the basic needs of life are denied when nothing is done about climate change. Okay, let's go to Momo Diva. Momo Diva, would you share with us what you had for lunch?
I had shima
Okay.
with beef and some vegetables.
Wow.
Wow.
This is what we call in Ghana balanced diet. All right. So
I tell you, my brother.
so Momo Diva had some food to eat. Now, our human rights, our human
Shima.
right to life, we'll be looking at food security, because we need to have food and water. Now, Rosemont talked about washing your hand and the running water, and Momo Diva just told us about the food she ate. Now, these will not be available if we have climate change, without carbon climate change, or without tackling climate change from now, which we should have done from yesterday. So we are slowing down our pace in seeking justice. So that's the issue we are looking at. Why climate justice? So that you and I will not have our human rights infringed on. Now, get to understand this. When you move into the hospital, you have people on oxygen. Okay, they can't breathe on their own, so they have to be supported with a machine to help them breathe. Now, this is what is happening to us now. If we don't fight to combat climate change, if we don't gather people and speak to them and let them understand that our human rights are being infringed upon because we are making people cut down trees without them not planting back, so there's no reforestation. There's nothing like we reducing the vehicles in the country, or we not reducing the amount of carbon emissions from the factories and all that. It will go to a point that you and I will not have access to water, and only the privileged will have access to the water. And you know, sometimes some of these science fiction movies depict or show us that picture about what it means to lack water. Okay, so I might move into the movie industry. Who has watched Sons of Eli, or the Book of Eli? I think the Book of Eli. If you've just watched, just let me know. But if not, I'll share with you. Perhaps we might share one way or the other on the movie. Now, the second one is looking at the irreversible conditions. The irreversible conditions. Okay. Okay. So we are looking at the irreversible conditions. Now, the depletion of the ozone layer is something we are looking at. The torrential rainfall, the outbreak of diseases, because without understanding what climate change is, we are not able to seek justice for the things that are going to happen to us. Because of the irreversible conditions, that's why we are saying that we need to come together and fight against climate change. The next thing is about the ecosystem. You know, we asked the question about who owns the world, and we have opinions, we have suggestions, we have thoughts from our colleagues about who owns the world. The next thing is that the ecosystem comprises of other living things that you and I all interact with. So if you don't seek for climate justice, the animals may get into extinction. Certain plants that we need for medicinal purposes and for even our own food will get into extinction. That is why in Ghana here we have the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research keeps on coming out with new variety, new types of food, new types of crops, new types of plants, because there's a change in the climate, there's a change in the weather conditions. So the plants need to be resistant to that. And it's an ecosystem. Without finding new ways to work around it, they will all go into extinction. And just as the saying goes, when the last tree dies, the last man dies. And we are not waiting for that. We are not going to sit down for that. And we are not going to settle for that, because you and I understand what climate justice is. And we know that it's not a myth, but it's a reality. Now let's go on to the second slide. In Accra here, okay, so in Ghana here, we are going to experience something. And this is the question that I posed. This is situated in Ghana. That did you know that parts of Accra and other coastal communities will be submerged in water by 2050? So just saying that if you live in a coastal area, it's got to a point that your community be submerged. And recently we had reports on some communities just vanishing. I'm using the word vanishing because the sea has extended its boundaries and has swallowed up all these communities. So by 2050, how old will you be as a Ghanaian? How old will you be as a person in your country? And what is the current situation in your country? What are the things you are facing? Now across the continent, we have issues about deforestation. We have issues about water pollution. We have issues about illegal mining. By 2050, how old would you be? And what would be the extent of the damage in your country? That is what we're supposed to look at. And that's the question we're supposed to ask. So when we sit down, we're like, oh, I'm young now, I think there are ways of making it better. By that time, you might have grown old. I know we have a saying in the local parlance here that as for a child, everyone has been a child, but it's the adult that not everyone has been fortunate to be an adult. But if you're fortunate to be an adult and to be in your old age, and let's have this, that if there is flooding, we are strong today. By 2050, we are getting old. Would we have the strength to even swim or to even pack our things and even move in that direction? So that is the question we are looking at. Now, what are the approaches in climate justice? In our human rights-based approach, we learned about ways of convincing the local leaders, getting these people on board, and letting them understand what we actually need. Now, what are some of the approaches in climate justice? We have the policy advocacy. Now, when you say the policy advocacy, what does it simply mean? It's just telling us that there are people who sit down to formulate laws or to formulate structures or to come up with a system that is going to work for all of us. And these are called the policy advocacy, and that's the policy advocacy level. So in order to engage people who sit down to brainstorm and develop documents and to develop structures, you need to also learn the policy advocacy level by starting to write about climate justice, by making research on those topics and asking yourself, okay, in my country we have this peculiar issue about climate change, which is bad agricultural practices. So the farmers are using fertilizers, so much fertilizers, and that is really, really affecting our plants. So what are we supposed to do? So the policy advocacy here is to sit down and write, okay, do research, conduct research, and research could be formal or informal. And based on that research, you submit it to the parliamentarians, your ministry that is responsible for the environment, or whatsoever it is. So they get to understand that, okay, this is the problem you're talking about, this is how we see it, and these are the solutions we are proposing. For instance, in your country, there's an issue about farmers using or bad agricultural practices. What can be done to curb the issue? Now, because you've read widely about the subject, you can write an article about it. You can even develop a paper about it. You can co-author and submit it to the ministry to tell them about some of the things that they need to look at. And that is what we're looking at as policy advocacy. Now we have the next thing called the campaign and movement. The campaign and movement here is about you gathering momentum, working with other NGOs, other community-based organizations, religious bodies, and saying that, look, we are going on a forward march. We are going to tell the authorities that enough is enough. We don't want this. Hashtag climate justice. Hashtag stop illegal mining. Hashtag protect our forest. Hashtag so many and so many and so many. So these are the things you're looking at. And the other aspect is about the business development. Now, business development in the sense that you can look at climate justice from a business perspective to say that why don't we invent new things to resolve these issues? Now, if you're looking at energy sector, which is affected by climate justice, that's affected by climate change, what can we do? Perhaps we can come up with renewable energy, new technology, new items to make it possible for people to live their life conducively in the environment. So, for instance, the issue about power supply, someone can sit down and say, okay, why don't we look at biogas, or why don't we use human excreta to generate power? So we are going to connect all the households, their washrooms, we are going to connect all of them to this main site in order to generate electricity for this district or for this area. So that's a business development perspective. So in seeking climate justice, it's not only about the policy advocacy, it's not only about the campaigns, it's also about sitting down and developing enterprises, developing business ideas that resolve the climate justice. Now, climate justice here is in two folds. We are either mitigating climate justice or we are adapting to it. Just as we adapt to the changing weather condition. When it's cold, you sometimes put on the AC, you put off the AC or you put off the fan. Or when it's hot, you put on the fan and all the AC, you open the louvers. So it's in either an adaptation mode or in a mitigation mode. And all these are factored into the three approaches that we have here. Now, the next item here, what do you see? We'll be done shortly. So, Robert, let's go to Moro. Moro, tell me what you see on the screen. Who do you see there? Okay, Moro is not there. And who do we have? Christopher. I think I need to check the participant list. I'm missing some people out. Christopher, can you hear from you? Okay.
Hello?
Yes, Christopher. What do you see? Yes, what do you see on what do you see?
The network problem.
Okay.
On the screen I can see I think three pictures. I think there are two pictures but three people.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Great. And can you describe them?
The first one, there is a man who is carrying books
Okay.
in his hands.
All right.
Then the second, there is a man
Mm-hmm.
with a and I don't know this thing how I can describe it. In his head, pots in his hands.
Okay.
The pot and I think this is food.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Then the other man, I can't see what is really. I don't know if it's food, but I can see him is in black, in a black jumper.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Makosi, what do you see? Thank you so much, Christopher. Let's go to Makosi. What do you see there? Okay. All right. Let's go to Momo Diva. Ashani will say going. All right. Okay, Robert. What about you? What do you see?
I see two pictures, and on the first picture, there's
Okay.
only one person. Then on the other picture, there are two people. There's a man holding books. Yeah, books and brochures and stuff like that. Then in the second picture, I see two men, both of them wearing things on their head.
Yes.
Yeah, holding something. Then the other man is holding a pot. Yeah, of course, both of them are wearing masks.
Yeah.
I don't know what they are wearing on their head.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Robert. This looks like climate justice models who are posing for a
Hello?
picture. Yes, we can hear you, Makosi.
Yes, I think what I'm seeing is a person carrying the first guy. Yes, the first guy is carrying brochures. Then the second picture, the guy wearing, they're carrying a pot.
Okay.
In something like heads, but I think sort of like it's just something that has to do with perhaps conserving heat or something to do with when after you've done your cooking. That's what I'm thinking from the second picture.
Great submissions from all of you. Now let's look at it. So stay on, Makosi. Let's analyze this picture. What about this one? What do you see? Oh, we're still with Makosi. He's gone.
Hello.
Okay, Rosemond, can we hear from you?
Hello. Yes. Is this a different one or?
Yeah, this is a different one. This is the next image. You're looking
Which
at.
one am I supposed to talk on?
The next image, the one on your screen now.
Okay. I wanted to comment on the previous one.
Okay, we can go back. Sure.
Okay, but with this one, I can see. Okay, so with this one, people with a utensil, but I think what's on their head or something. I don't know which one is the banner. Either the one they are holding or the one on their head. It's a banner, yes.
Okay. All right. And the next one.
And the current one, the one with the lady, the picture with the lady.
Yes.
But I can't really see the writings in what she's holding.
Okay, don't worry, it's fine. But just explain to us, what do you see?
Yes, you had asked me about.
Yes, Makosi. Yes.
Now I see a picture of. I see a picture of marchers who are carrying a march, carrying banners that are talking about climate justice and the commitment. I can say 2030, and I say let him in front of the marchers carrying a placard, but I can't see what is written there.
Okay, great.
That's what I can see now.
Wonderful. So we're doing a little bit of picture reading here. Now, we just spoke about the approaches in climate justice. So the first one is the gentleman there. That is me, holding some brochures on climate justice. that have been produced by Strategic Youth Network, a youth-led group on environment in Ghana here. So those are some of the brochures or some of the policy papers that has been developed by the team to engage the policy makers, and that's some sort of policy advocacy, because these people are sort of academicians. They are more of like, let's sit down, brainstorm, let's think, what does research say, what are the books saying. So these are the materials we develop. The next one is with Chibeze Ezekiel, and on our heads we have something like Rismond was in like a burner or something, and Makosi, you are right by saying that it's sort of like used to conserve heat. So that's the business development aspect we're talking about, the climate justice approach, the approaches in climate justice. Okay, so the pot we are holding, that he is holding, is that when you cook the food for some time, you don't need to cook it for like, you don't need to cook the food for 5 minutes. You can cook it for 2 minutes. Then you put the pot into what we have on our heads. Okay, then the one we hold, what we are holding in our hands are the lids. So you just cover it, then you tighten it up, then you just leave it. It will boil on its own and food will be ready. So that's the business development aspect of the climate justice we're looking at. The next image, we had young people, we have ladies in front leading the march, we all shouting climate justice, is what we are looking at, the campaigns and the movement. So this is the other approach that I was talking to you about. Now, ActionAid Ghana has a climate justice agenda, and we are looking at something we call agroecology. I raised issues about bad agricultural practices, and these bad agricultural practices are simply hindering the growth of our crops, affecting the soil composition, affecting living organisms in the soil. So ActionAid Ghana here is seeking for agroecology and saying the government needs to switch and move into that direction. And agroecology is about sustainable farm practices, which does not lead to depletion of the environment. So that's what it means. Now, the program manager and the technical lead on resilient livelihoods and climate justice of ActionAid Ghana, Tontie K. Benado, says that agroecology presents a solution to agriculture that thrives on less dependence on external inputs and rather focus on resource use efficiency, builds on and strengthens local knowledge and resources, and works better with or not against nature. So in simple terms, climate justice from ActionAid Ghana is about agroecology. We need to understand what this means. We need to look at what is the evidence of climate change in our own country, in our own community. It might not be agroecology in your country. It might mean about water storage in your country, in your community. It could mean even something else. So understand what climate justice is and look within your community. How best can you protect the environment? Good luck in your climate justice. We've come to an end of our discussion, and we'll be moving to our next topic, which is storytelling by Abena Awuku-Larbi. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you for your time, and enjoy the next session. So if you have questions, this presentation as well as the presentation of Shani will be shared with you, and everything will be done. So just let me know if you have questions and all that. We'll respond to them.
Thank you very much.
But for now, we'll be listening to, we'll be hearing from Abena Awuku-Larbi. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Daniel.
All right.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you.
I think
Whose microphone is on?
Thomas.
Okay, someone has a question.
All right, Thomas, we're listening.
Daniel, Thomas has a question.
Okay. Hello, Thomas. We can hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, just understand the difference between agroecology. Please, are you listening to me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. I wanted to know the difference between agroecology and conservation agriculture. Conservation agriculture. Recently, I heard about conservation agriculture. And this one, yeah. Okay. So let's go on. I think okay.
Wait, if you don't mind, Thomas, I didn't get the second part. You said the difference between agroecology and what? Hi, Thomas.
Conservation agriculture.
Conservation
I think I'm
agriculture.
not getting
Recently,
that
I've been
word
hearing of
properly.
conservation agriculture. Conserve.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, hi.
Yes.
I had conservation agriculture.
Conservation agriculture. Oh, oh, okay. So if you want to understand the difference between agroecology and conservation agriculture, this is what I know. Agroecology is an umbrella term that encompasses all forms of sustainable agriculture that will lead to productive earth, includes conservation agriculture, because the whole point of conservation agriculture is to make sure that the it is to how should I put this? Conservation agriculture is to preserve the forest. If that's what if that's what I think it is. If I've read on it, conservation agriculture is under agroecology. It's an umbrella term, and I think Tontier has written something on this. So if you don't mind, we can get back to Tontier, get his thoughts on this, and then we bring it back to you, if that's fine with you, Thomas.
Yes, and I just want to,
I'm okay with
as
that.
Abena said,
I'm okay with that.
the conservation
Yes.
agriculture also talks about um, preventing loss of arable lands and maintaining the permanent soil cover that we have. So illegal mining and deforestation that we all have, these things sort of like deplete the soil cover. Conservation agriculture could also mean that farming systems that we do that prevent the loss of arable lands, and that includes afforestation. But of course, we can still also 28 to also give us some material on that, which we can share with everyone here. Thank you very much for that question, Thomas Abugre.
Okay, thank you, Shani. That was insightful.
Thank you very
Does
much,
anyone
Sam.
else have any other question before we move on to the next session? Okay, I'll take it that no one has any more. So we are moving to the second session actually, which is storytelling. Shani, could you please help me share the PDF first, the PowerPoint? Hello, Shani.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I hope you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see the screen now.
Okay. All right. What? Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So, hello, guys. Good afternoon. My name is Abena, and I'm going to take you through this session, which is titled Storytelling. So, what is storytelling? Before we go into what storytelling is, I'm going to give you a brief overview of what we are going to do in this session. Shani, could you move to the next slide? Hi, Shani.
Yeah, hi.
Great. Uh-huh. So if everyone will look on their screen, Shani, I think it's gone off. Great. If everyone will look on their screen, there are three boxes over there. So in this session, we are going to talk about the power of stories, politics of stories. First, we'll talk about the power of stories, the politics of stories, and then your project. That's what this session is going to be about. In the next slide, you'd see that I'm attempting an introduction. So, as I said earlier on, my name is Abna, and I'm an artivist. That means I'm an activist, and then I'm an artist. I don't know, someone's mic is giving me feedback on this end. Could we all mute our microphones?
I think it's mine. Sorry.
Oh, okay, sure. Thank you. Yes, thank you very much, Shani. So yes, I'm an activist, and then I'm an activist. Mainly, I work in the spaces related to gender, gender-based violence, and then climate justice. And then as an artist, I write poetry, and I do spoken word. And I'm also a lawyer, and I specialize particularly in oil and gas, and then renewable energy. That's a basic introduction about me. Fun fact, I'm the craziest person you ever meet. But everyone who sees me says I have a resting bitch face. And I really don't know what to think about that. But yeah, I'm a nice person. Anytime you see me around, just say hi, right? Okay, the next slide. Yes, that's my face. That's me. So yeah, cheers. So we move straight into the session. We are going to talk about the power of stories. I want us to understand what stories are. Every day, every time you wake up, you hear stories. You hear, oh, so and so person has done this, that. Every single time you are alive, somebody is telling you something that has happened, or telling you something that is happening, or telling you something that is about to happen. All these things are stories. Stories do not have to be in a particular form. Once it's a narration or a description, you are telling a story. And I want us to understand that stories are powerful. Are powerful. They carry strength. They carry impact. Stories are all we are. Everything we are. Our lives are all wrapped up in little stories. To create your path through the world, you have to steer the direction of the stories that you tell. In the subsequent slides, I'll teach you what this particular statement it means. If you want to carve your path, you want to um, shape the road ahead, if you want to know the direction you are heading towards, then you have to steer the stories you tell. You have to shape them. Stories that you tell yourself that will determine which road you put yourself on. I call them narratives we create. You know, Burna Boy says the monsters you made. But now I'm going to tell you that the stories that we tell ourselves are the narratives that we create. Human beings are creative people. We create every single time. So as you are working there in your daily life, what are you creating for yourself? What stories are you telling yourself, and how is it shaping your future? The thing about stories is, let me see if I could give you an example. So when someone tells you things about, say, person A, before you even meet person A, you already have ideas about how you're going to deal with that person. So the thing is that once a story is told, you lose the power to decide how it's interpreted or used by others. That's what the power of story comes in, because then it's open to interpretation. Anybody can make of it whatever they want to make of it. So imagine if someone told you, "Oh, do you know that, say, Daniel likes to take my things?" So maybe I have told Shani that, "Oh, Shani, do you know Daniel likes to take my things?" How Shani would understand it, it depends on his own life experiences and his life choices. For all you know, Shani could interpret it that, Daniel is a thief. Or maybe Daniel likes to borrow. Or Daniel just something. Once you say a story, how it's conceived or interpreted by other people is beyond you, which is why it's important to shape stories and narratives in a way that creates positive impact. So, I want us to understand that the stories we tell ourselves could be either treacherous or they could be positive. The way stories are told are very, very important. We see others through the interpretation and the understanding of our stories. People have particular ideas about you because of the stories they've heard about you. How powerful stories are. Say you're going for a job interview and then someone has read about you somewhere that, this person is like this, like this, like this. It is already the person's mind, and there is nothing you can do to change it. And say if that job interview was an important milestone in your life, you could miss out on it because of stories that are told. Beginning to understand how powerful stories can be and how much they can impact our lives. When we tell stories, what we are trying to do is to come to terms with the world, is to be able to understand the world, is to be able to harmonize our lives with reality. The world is chaotic. Everything that goes on in our lives is pure chaos. Through stories, we are able to perceive the world through our rugged lenses and try to understand it. Think of it as think of your lives as a really large meal. So maybe think of it as someone trying to shove a refrigerator down your mouth. Too small to receive a refrigerator into your stomach. It's too big. But if, say, your mouth has some acidic components that will digest the metal of the fridge little by little, then you'll be able to digest it. That's how stories are, or that's how our lives are. Our lives are that big fridge that is being shoved down our throats, and we can't make any sense of it. Stories are those little bites that we take and swallow and digest. That will make us understand that, oh, this is what life is about. Shani, can we move to the next slide? Hello, Shani. Hello. Hmm. Okay, great. Thank you. So, you would ask me what exactly is about storytelling. So, storytelling is gone. The screen has gone off again. Great. So, in storytelling, what we are doing is to use facts and to use narratives to communicate something to your audience. You can't be telling us lies. There's something that people say that there is no smoke without fire. So no matter what story is being told, there's a little bit of fact inside, just that the way it's being narrated conveys different meanings. So basically, in storytelling, you are communicating something to your audience. And what you are communicating to your audience involves fact and involves a narration. Any style can be employed to explain the core message you're marketing. Anytime someone is telling you a story, there's a particular message, there's a core message, there's uh, a key message that the person is trying to convey. It's like gossiping. If someone comes to gossip to you, for the person has maybe wants to tell you that, oh, this person is really good, or maybe this person is really nasty, or this person is a thief, or this person is beautiful. Anything they say delivers a certain core message, just that you don't realize it. So what stories do is that they convey key messages. Using storytelling uses different styles, and then you have to employ facts and a narrative. In the next slide, I'm going to tell you why stories. Why stories? Shani, the next slide, please. Great. So, what do stories do? One, stories simplify your message. Now, you know why uh, things easily trend on social media? Is that nobody has time. You see, I don't know how many of you use Twitter. I don't know. I'm sure it happens in the other on the other social media platforms. Say someone posts an article, and the article when it's posted, it's a link. So you have to click on the link to go and read the article and come back and comment on it. How many of you click on the link to go and read the article? Barely any of us go through that whole hassle to now go and read an article unless you are really interested in it. All you see is maybe the caption or maybe the headline. Those little captions you see are stories. Simplify the message. As very ordinary things that give you information. So captions could be stories. They are simplifying the message. So you don't have to now go and open the article and look through the statistics and look through what this big person said, what this doctor said, what this dean professor said, what this so and so person said. It's too much stress. The juice, the juice of the story. You want to hear the message wrapped up in pretty packaging before you be able to understand it. On another point, stories inspire people. Stories are a source of inspiration. When you go on social media and you see how someone says, oh, one day I was poor, now I've become rich after so and so 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 so. So aspire to acquire the desire you admire and what. All those stories those people tell you, it sweets your ear. And because it sweets your ear, you are inspired. A lot of us have stories about how we read something over here or how someone said something to us and we got inspired and we wanted to do more and we're like, oh, so there is something like this in this world. Me too, I can do it. Those are what stories do. Also motivate. It's on the next slide. Motivates people. Stories push you to do more. There's this thing that young boys like doing on Twitter, and then they go like, Dangote did this, and today Dangote did that, and today Cappy's father did that, and tomorrow Dollar did this, and today Jeff Bezos did this. When they hear those stories, they go like, me too, I go do some, or me too, I'll be able to do some, or I'll be able to push forward. Those things motivate you to do more. Those little stories that you hear about people encourage you, push you to do more with your life. Stories also unite people. If you have ever been a gossip in your life before, you know that some people bond over gossip. The same way people bond over gossip is the same way people bond over stories. For example, opened up about the abuses that I had suffered. I found that when I joined a safe space where other people had experienced the same thing that I had experienced, I realized that I have a kindred spirit. So I found a kindred spirit in this person. And I found that we're bonded through the experiences that we shared. So that's the power of stories. Now we come to the politics of stories. And in the slides on your screen, I have defined in very general terms what politics are. Politics is not necessarily your political party in your country shouting, "Hey, yes, we are going to do this. We are going to do free education, free water, free light." No, that's not just what all politics is about. Politics are your life philosophies about how people should live together in the society. Dreams, your beliefs about how people should live together in the society. That is what politics basically are. Politics of America is the American dream. So you sit there and people are going like, yeah, the American dream, and I'm fighting for the American dream. Africa. What is the politics of Africa? Of Ghana? What are our views on life? Honestly, if you ask me what are the politics of Ghana, it is that dog eats dog. Everybody should shine their eyes and grab what they can. La hustle, la woo. That's how we say it here. If you don't hustle, you're going to die. And I think most of the Ghanaians over here will understand when you say la hustle, la woo. If you don't hustle, you're going to die. And that's the general Ghanaian politics. And I think it is the same for other third world countries out there. All over, if you don't hustle, you die. And that's our basic politics. Even for your own views about this world, what are your personal politics? Understand that your politics would determine the change you want to see. Up until now, in Ghana, the general politics run around sensationalism and that idea that you have to suffer to get the basic qualities of life, else you die, and all those things. How about we change our minds and we start thinking, we can be more, we can do more, we can be amazing. Everybody can have the access to basic necessities of life. If that becomes our politics in Africa, don't you think that would have, like, there'll be some positive change that we want to see, even in your own life? If you start thinking in a different way from how you think so far, there would surely be a change in your life. Shine, let's move to the next slide. So, what I want you to understand is that storytelling is closely linked with positive social change. Why am I saying this? I want you to get it that storytelling is a powerful political tool. In every social system, and like what I've written over there, if you become better storytellers, or you'll be shown to make an impact in your area of influence. Why am I saying that storytelling is a powerful political tool? Now, in every society, in every political system, stories, there are narratives about who should have power, about who should be marginalized or not, about who should be rich and who should be poor, about who should be president. For example, in Ghana, a point where a Northerner or a Muslim is president. And even that funny period where we had a Northerner as president, he was quickly overthrown in a coup. Now we think it's normal on the surface that, oh, things like this happen. But it should tell you that there are stories, there are narratives, and there are all these things that we see with our eyes that are influencing the things we see on the surface. Again, we understand that women are seen to be sexual vessels for men. Why is this so? It's these little stories that the face of domestic chores is a woman. The face of a home is a woman. The face of weakness is a woman. The films you watch when somebody is being beaten, it's not the woman that's being beaten, hiding in the corner and shouting, "Leave me." The face of emotional people is a woman. The face of thieves, liars is a woman. But the face of hardened criminals, wicked drug dealers are men. Aren't all these stories that are being told, stories that are being fed into your mind? see these stories every time because you have been exposed to these things every time. You think that it is very normal. The politics of the powerful being forcefully imprinted in your mind, and you think that that is what the law is. I tell you today that you can change the politics of your area of influence. Through storytelling, you can change the narrative. You can create a narrative that creates positive social impact. Go to the next slide. So, you'd see a lot of plenty things I've written over there. There are hidden narratives that give silent shapes. Think of it like that. All that I've said so far is summarized in these words: hidden narratives produce silent shapes. Everything, the way you understand the world, is because of certain hidden narratives that you have been fed with, and they have shaped how you view life. Today, I want you to dismantle, sit down, reflect, dismantle these stories you've been told, them one by one, all these ideas you've been fed with. A woman is weaker than a man. Rich people like me can never be rich. I can't own my own house because I don't know this person. I can't be president because I'm so and so. I can't get my master's degree. I can't do this. Africa is a weak country. This continent is so and so. Religion is why we is the only thing that matters to us. All those things. I want you to sit down, take them apart, and then look for the things that have meaning to you down into your imagination and create the world that you think should be. Imaginations of yours. Build your belief system. Rebuild your life philosophy. Build your beliefs. And then after you build your beliefs, start creating your narratives. Start creating your stories. You are the one difference that we need in this world. Next one. As activists, I want you to understand that you can do more. The reason that you are here today is not by coincidence. It's because some way, somehow, your planets have aligned for you to hear this message today. Because we need you, all of you over here, from Christopher to Makosi to Momo Deva, Moro Ali, Foster, Robert, all of you guys on this call. We need all of you to create better and alternative narratives. We want strategic narratives, not just those funny things, those funny skits that you see on social media, those funny thing about a woman with big buttocks walking and somebody sees the buttocks and then he falls down and then everybody's laughing. No, childish things like that. We want the kind of narratives that make a meaningful impact. We don't want sensationalism. We need you here think, to think deep and create a better world for us. We want you to look at the bigger picture. We want you to tell us, in this society, what can we do better? How can we imbibe humanity in this society? How can we shift prevailing narratives? You see that woman over there? That is my understanding of what my world should look like. What society should look like. For me, society should be green, natural, and have a lot of smiling women. Be like unrestricted. And that's what my friend IB came up with. And we thought that, oh, this is what the world should be like. It should be beautiful. It should be happy. It should be full of happy women. This is my dream. This is the reason why I wake up every day. This is the reason why I'm a lawyer. This is the reason why I'm an activist. This is the reason why I write. I want the world to be a better place for women. I don't want to ever have to step out and then be afraid that my body is for a man. I don't want to have to go for a job interview and then feel like, hey, my body is for this man. If I don't sleep with this man, I can't get this job. I don't want to have to go to court and then the judge says that, come and let me press you. before he gives judgment in my favor. I don't want to have to step out and people look down upon me because I'm a woman. I don't want to step out and then keep suffering respiratory attacks because the air is so dirty and so polluted. I want a happy, free, natural life. That picture you see over there is the reason I wake up every morning. What is yours? What are your politics for this world? I want you to think about it. Open your mind. Start thinking about it, right? And we are going to talk about your project. Let's talk about how everything I've said so far, I've said a lot of things. How everything I've said right now relates to you. Now, Shani, please, the next slide, please. All these messages I've said should be used for your campaigns and your projects. Well, you can use it for your personal life as well, but for your projects and then for your artistic campaigns, all these things I've said, boom, are over there. At the most basic level, stories are empowering for the storyteller. But by taking it further, you can empower people to not just tell their story, but develop and disseminate it to a wide audience. You remember in the beginning, I said that once a story is told, you lose the power to decide how it is interpreted or used by others. Which is why I said that the way stories are told have a lot of gravity. So you are not I'm not just teaching you to just be ordinary storytellers. I want to teach you to be storytellers par extraordinaire. To be storytellers that are extraordinary, that you don't just tell your own stories, but you tell stories that are empowering, that are inspiring, that give motivation, such that other people will hear it and then they'll feel empowered to also tell their story and disseminate it into their areas of influence as well. Proper tools and training like we are doing now, storytelling, because we are in a digital world, I put digital storytelling there. Potential to turn storytellers into content producers as well. So you're not just telling stories, you are producing great content for us, right? That's how you use it in your campaign. You start from a story, you produce greater content. Now, there are a couple of questions you should ask yourself when you are embarking on your campaign, which is what is in the next slide. Shani, over to you. Yeah. So you see on the screen that before you start your campaign or your project, and we are going to do a simulation in I think the next two sessions that are going to happen tomorrow and on Saturday. Ask yourself these questions, and yes, we'll share these PowerPoint slides with you so you don't forget the information. But I also hope that you're also taking your own notes because the oratory explanations I'm giving also contain information that would help you along the way. So you ask yourself these questions. What story do I want to tell? Who should tell it? What format should I or can I tell the story with? What suits the story best? How? Where? When will I disseminate it? Do I want this process to be ongoing? Do I want it to be participative? You ask yourself these questions before you start. Aside from that, during the process, which is the next one, during the process of your storytelling or of shaping up, I forgot to tell you that, see, storytelling is not a one day something. It's something you do with a lot of practice. It's trial and error, trial and error. So during the process, one, you should know your audience. Know your audience. And I've put a lot of words down there. But know your audience is self-explanatory. Who are you going to tell your story? Wants to hear your story. All these things you should nail them down. The next one is Shani. The next one is that you should define your core message. And I think in the early parts of this session, I think I explained what defining your core message should entail. So your core message is like, we can't build a house without a foundation. So before you tell a story, you should have your core message nailed down. For me, every story I tell always has some element of women emancipation. Almost every story I tell has some element of gender in it. It's always the foundation for my story. So in my circles, everyone who knows Abna knows that if I'm coming to tell a story, I'm going to tell a story and then the ending will surely be women empowerment. That is me. So you two, what is your own? Maybe yours can be climate justice, yours can be poverty, yours can be unemployment. There are so many problems in this world, eh? You can just catch one and then use it and to define your core message. In this particular training session, we are teaching you to use climate justice because it's the most immediate problem. So catch climate change, mix it up, and define your core message. There are a lot of things about climate change that you can use to tell your story. Is it deforestation? Is it air quality? Is it food scarcity? Is it traffic? Is it increase in accommodation? All or is it sanitation? All these things are all core messages under the broad topic of climate justice. And you can carve a story from that. The next thing you should think about is Shani. Okay, so there's plenty speeches over there, but yes, you should decide what kind of story you are telling. Decide the kind of stories you are telling. Are you telling a story that should incite action? Are you telling a story that is just telling people about yourself? Are you telling a story that is conveying values? Are you telling a story that is to foster community? Are you telling a story that should be imparting knowledge? A typical example of deciding what kind of story you should tell is the Me Too movement. And I think by now, as activists, we have all had some understanding of what the Me Too movement is about. One person says a story, Me Too, this and this happened, or that happened, or that also happened to me. That is what the Me Too movement was about. So when you are telling your story, what impacts, what are you looking for? How do you want your audience to feel? What reaction are you looking for? Consider that. The next thing you do is to define your call to action. For me, every time I am done with my stories, I always say, you can do more, you can be more, you are amazing, go and conquer. I'm always fighting as my call to action. As for my call to actions, I'm always fighting. It's like, go and conquer. You can do this. That's for me. By the time I'm done with every story I tell, that's my call to action. What's going to be yours? Maybe your own can be save our souls or bring us life. I don't know. Or I want to be full. I don't want to be hungry again. What? End world hunger. Or in relation to this project we are working on, it could be with climate justice now, climate action, more green, save the world, green the earth, green planet forever. Yes, all that are calls to action. And I think if you don't get what a call to action should be, I think all of us are familiar with Wakanda forever. Everywhere you go, when you hear Wakanda forever, everybody is crossing their hands on their chest and feeling all African. Mhm. All those things are calls to action. So when you are done with all the things I said early on, you have to choose your call to action. Write it down. Yes, this one thing I always try to tell everybody in all my sessions. In things like this, always make sure you have a notepad app, or better still, you have an actual notebook with a pen or a pencil. I always carry my notebook around because there are always ideas I need to write down because I want to make the world a better place. There are always ideas swirling around in my head. So I always write them down. It's the same thing for you. Bible says somewhere it says write the vision, make it plain on the tablet that he may run that readeth it. Says write down your vision, make sure it's plain and clear so that whoever will see it will say, aha, I wrote this over here, okay, let's do this. That is what writing should do for you. So from now on, book, get your pen, do the writing. Hmm? Then the last thing you should consider is that you should choose your medium. Do you want to tell your story via spoken word? Do you want to tell your story via visuals? Do you want to tell a story via music, blogging? There are so many ways to tell your stories, and you should choose your medium. You want to be telling it in newspapers or maybe your Twitter feed, your Facebook page, whatever you want to do, right? Now, after you choose your medium, share, publicize it. Let everyone see your story. Don't be shameless about it. When it comes to your sense of shame as an activist, throw your sense of shame away. Be shameless about sharing your story. That matters. And you should also note that when you are telling your stories should be educative, entertaining, they should be relatable, they should be organized, and they should be memorable. You see how I've told you this training right now? I bet most of you are not going to forget my voice because I put a lot of drama in everything I'm saying. So even if you don't remember anything, cry, it's like, oh, that trainer with the dramatic voice. Story should be. People should be able to remember everything that you say. See, when you are telling your story, the words are begging you to. They are literally begging your words should be begging people to remember me, right? Your words are going to travel far, so they should be remembered. People should remember your story because when your story is being remembered, the fire keeps burning, right? Now, finally, I'm going to videos for you. I should give you an example of my style of storytelling. My style of storytelling uses visuals and spoken word to convey my message. So it's like a sample of what you can do when you're planning your project. So I think Shani is going to play the videos in a bit. Before he plays the videos, we've come to the end, and then
How do we write stories that would attract such minorities to be in the forefront so that we can balance up the, the participation?
I think it's really amazing that you asked this question because the second video that Shani is going to play will address this. But I can tell you that from our end here in Ghana, I'm going to give you a couple of examples. There are two things that we did because you know that most of the women that are affected by climate injustices in Ghana are the who are in agriculture. So, excuse me, they are not exactly literate, blue collar workers. So, the way we tell our stories between people who are to be educated or in the urban areas are not the same way. They won't be able to understand it, they won't be able to relate to it. So, this is what we did. We took local transport. Local transport over here is called trotro. I don't know how it is like at your place, but this is like the most local of public transport. Very cheap. And we dressed like, and we picked the car from the capital into these villages. And then as we're going, we're asking them questions, talking to them, letting them know, oh, this is what happened. or this is what's happening to the environment. Haven't you seen? Do you understand why this is happening? This is what you can do about it. And as we were sharing, telling them these ways of stories, because these it uses a for talking to them, we use the local language, and then we use there's I don't know, street parlance to talk to these market women, to talk to these traders, and then women farmers. And as we were telling them our idea of what injustice is and what it's doing to our environment, they also shared their own stories with us. So it became something like by the fireside, but it became trading stories. That is how we were able to reach out to these women on the ground. We went on the ground ourselves. To be able to reach women like that, we had to become like them. If you want to talk to traders, you want to tell them stories about climate injustices and what it's doing to their environment and how they can remedy it, you have to become a trader. You have to become a market woman. You have to become an ordinary person, which is why I keep saying that you should always remember to throw away your sense of shame. In things like this, you don't need shame at all. Be shameless about it. Be as shameless as possible. That's how you sell your story. Contrastingly, when we're talking to urban women, we had to use social media. We had to dress like office women. We had to dress like office people with our suits and all those bougie things to be able to tell them our stories and speak in a way that they will be able to get. In these forms, we are including them. The story is spreading. One thing ActionAid Ghana is also doing in this respect is to keep the fire burning by making sure that all these women are part of a cooperative. So they are put in groups, and then they practice their agriculture together. They share their stories together. They are engaged together. And if there's any problem, they report to the ActionAid person in charge. First, you go out, you sow your stories. When you sow your stories, you create groups, create a movement, and those groups suddenly become a huge movement, and then you move. Is that okay, Momodifa? Do you understand this? Hello, Momodifa.
Yes, it's clear. Thank you.
Great, you're welcome. Shani, are we ready? Or does anyone else have any? One else have? Shani, are we ready?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, over to you. Is it me? Or I can't hear the sound. I don't know whether it's just from my
I
end.
can't hear it as well. It's like what
Okay,
happened in the morning.
Shani.
I can hear you. I can get the sounds.
Oh, okay.
I mean the video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think we had that challenge in the morning too when we tried.
Okay.
I'm gonna try again and let's see it.
Okay. Let me share it from my screen and see if it will work.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yes.
It is visible.
The world is changing all around us.
Can't hear
The things we
It's still
depend
the same
upon
thing.
are
Let
not.
me try mine and see.
Yeah. I mean, are you using your phone or something?
Yes.
I think that would
Let me
work.
try this. Okay. Is it playing?
No, it's playing, but the sound.
The sound is not working.
No, the sound is not working, unfortunately.
Okay, okay. Then what we can do is that we just share the videos to everyone's email.
Yes.
Hello.
Okay. Hi.
Yes.
So I think
In
there's
the
a.
morning
Mm-hmm,
when I don't know if it was Shan or Daniel who shared the video from the YouTube.
mm-hmm,
So while I was like listening,
mm-hmm.
I tried to just go direct to YouTube and I was able to hear everything with the sound while I was also connected.
Okay.
If you share the link to the
Mm-hmm.
video, if it's on YouTube, then you can just give us some minutes, then we just go direct to hear it. It worked the time
That's
I
fine.
tried it.
That's fine. Okay. Okay. We have 9 minutes left. Chat. I'll give everyone 5 minutes to go and listen to it and come back. But nonetheless, we'll still share plus every presentation from today in everybody's email. And then tomorrow when we meet, we'll do a recap on what everybody heard and saw. One.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right. Sure. So the link is in
That's
the
very much
chat.
okay.
And Daniel, I think I'm going to hand this over to you. I'll send this to your mail right now or to your WhatsApp so you can share it with
So I'm
everyone.
able to watch the video and I'm listening from
Okay.
the link that
Okay.
you sent.
Even even if it's possible via email or even WhatsApp, we can send our numbers. Then you can share even if it's WhatsApp or email,
Sure.
whichever way.
Sure. That's fine. Okay then. All right. So we'll rectify this video issues and tomorrow we have session on and we'll have a brief recap session on what you have seen from these videos I've shared with you and what you remember from them. Okay. Right then. So this brings us to the end of today's session. Again and talk about planning artistic actions.
At
So if there is not
at
much else to say,
that's at
Daniel,
nine
is there any
thirty.
announcement? Is it 9? Daniel, what time does tomorrow's session start?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We'll meet tomorrow. Right.
All
Have
right.
an amazing. Mm-hmm.
Someone has a question.
'Cause I was like in time waiting to join for the afternoon session, but I didn't have the link. So is it the same link that we are going to use for tomorrow, or you send the link in the morning?
Daniel.
Daniel, can I ask? Okay.